Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Intelligent Millionaires Network webinar. My name is Richard Puthra, and I am delighted to be your host on this event this evening with my wonderful wife, business partner, best friend, best COVID lockdown buddy, Nina. Nina's coordinating the event this evening, making sure that all of the important things happen. So, Nina, I'm trying to look for you on my screen. I can see you. Nina, can you give a wave to everyone? Well, for those of you joining us for the first time this evening, what is the Intelligent Millionaires Network? Well, Intelligent Millionaires Network, or IMN, is an international business networking club where we have a number of clubs in different city locations across the globe. And every month the clubs get together. We have an exceptional guest speaker, and we give the members and guests a forum to connect together, grow together, and do business together. And we have so many wonderful examples of just that. So I'm going to bring up John now. Now, John is a business growth consultant and has worked with many, many global organizations, with turnaround companies and startups. And I know he's currently working with a range of clients in fintech, prop tech, insurance and automotive sectors. It therefore gives me great pleasure to introduce you to John Fuggles. John, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Richard, and good evening, everyone. So let me just start off by saying there are no slides this evening, so you just get to look and listen to me, I'm afraid. And to pick up on something that Richard just said about cold calling, there's two things, and you only need two things. You need a phone and you need a script. But that's just the cold calling element, right? There is a lot of stuff you need to do before that. And famously, as someone once said, you're only as good as your follow-up. And if you miss that, the rest is a waste of time. So what I want to do is get into what is the process of cold calling, but in a slightly broader view. So the title the title I've given it is Stop Communicating, Start Connecting. And what does that mean? So communicating is a one-way street. You can send a message in semaphore, doesn't mean anyone can read it. You can send it in Morse code, doesn't mean they understand it. But that is communication. Connecting requires two pieces to join together. You cannot join one wire. Okay, you have to have two bits of wire to join together. So connecting is where the communication starts to actually make sense now and starts to deliver impact. And why does that matter? Well, it matters now because we've all spent an awful lot of time staring at a screen, listening to people like me, watching death by PowerPoint by people who like putting every single word on the slide. There's a lot of people now talking about Zoom fatigue. I'm sure the people at Google and Microsoft Teams are hacked off with that term, but there you are, But there is a lot of Zoom fatigue out there. But that doesn't mean that it's been a bad thing. What it means is what you've achieved to this point is critical to what takes you forward. So if you have started to punch through, if you have started to push through, if you have started to and been successful in communicating your message, now is the time to move on to the next step. We've all got our favorite forms of social media. Mine is LinkedIn, pretty much, because it serves my business. For people in other industries, perhaps that doesn't serve it so well. So identify what is the best media for you, and it may be several. Richard mentioned some of my clients. One of my clients is an automotive company. Instagram is absolutely perfect for them, but it may not be perfect for another client of mine, someone in the financial services industry. So use the social media that's right for you, and then build and build and build your message. Keep at it constantly. Then what we need to do is take all of that communication. We then need to connect to people with that behind us. Now, connecting with people can be quite complex. Sometimes the message that you're trying to deliver isn't received the way you want. Anyone with teenage children will know exactly what that means. They're fundamentally being rewired. Okay, they get to a certain point where all this stuff goes a bit haywire, and they have to start rejoining it. That's what's happening in their head. But sometimes we can deliver a message and we can think we're delivering something well, and it's received completely differently. So I used to play a lot of rugby, and we had a team touring, and they were visiting from New Zealand. Now, anyone that knows anything about New Zealand culture and rugby will know that before a big game, and certainly if you've watched the World Cup and some of the internationals, they do a haka, which is a traditional, challenge, if you like. So it's kind of like a war dance. And a lot of these Pacific Island countries do this kind of thing. But children in New Zealand learn that growing up. They learn it at school. Every child who went to school in New Zealand knows the haka. So we had this team touring from New Zealand, and we thought, well, they're going to do the haka. We need to respond. So we did exactly the English equivalent of the haka. So you now have to imagine 15 rugby players plus reserves, all now doing Humpty Dumpty, Humpty Dumpty, sat on a wall. The problem was the way we anticipated it going down didn't end up very well. It was, without doubt, the most violent game of rugby I've ever played. So you need to understand the message you're delivering and how it will be received. I'm not suggesting we all start doing Humpty Dumpty war dances, but understand the message you're trying to get through and how it will be received. And then take that forward. And as Richard said, we then need to sort of learn how to start moving from that and actually start prospecting, cold calling, connecting with people. So where do you find your prospects? Well, if you've been doing a lot of social media content, you'll start picking up people following you. You'll start identifying people you can communicate with. Potentially, you'll have clients from the past, ex-clients, referrals, your LinkedIn connections, your Facebook connections, all of your social media connections. Don't disregard people that you've not spoken to for some time. Don't disregard old connections. GDPR and all that aside, I understand that. But they've moved on. They've changed jobs. They've changed roles. They've got different responsibilities. They've potentially got different life goals now. Their social circumstances, their financial circumstances may have changed. So what you're now trying to connect to is where they are, not where they were the last time you spoke to them. So look at your old contacts, do some advertising campaigns, and fill up this funnel. We hear about funnels, we talk about funnels. Fill up this funnel with all of your prospects, everyone. Okay? And then we need to learn to segment it. Now we segment it by what is happening at the moment, by what is what I call a compelling event, by something that matters to them. And then we have to start connecting to them. Now, I read an article recently about the different types of communication, and face-to-face is the top preferred method of communication. For anyone on this call, do you remember what face-to-face meetings used to be like? You know, the good old days, as perhaps we should call it now, right? But the next one down, interestingly enough, is phone conversations. People prefer a phone conversation over a handwritten letter, over an email, online chatting, and social media and everything else. That chart was produced last year after a big piece of research. Nowhere on it was Zoom calls and Hangouts and so on and so forth. It'd be interesting to see where that sits now. I suspect that's sliding down the scale. So the reality is we need to get to a face-to-face conversation. But if we can't, the next best thing is a telephone conversation. And right now, that's the best we can do. We need a telephone conversation with these people. So how do you get them online and get them hooked in? So we start off with our funnel. We take everyone we've want to connect with, and we segment them by compelling event. We don't segment them by geography, by their spend, by their demographics, because if we do, we've then got to tailor every script. Now, a compelling event is something that is impacting them, not us. So, and I mentioned this previously on another call, COVID-19 is not a compelling event. It's a catalyst for other things. The compelling event is the fact that people may be furloughed and worried about their future. The compelling event could be that the children are now going to be homeschooled and they're pulling their hair out already and now they've got summer holidays coming. That's a compelling event. The compelling event could be, as a business owner, they're struggling to pay their bills and they've no idea what's going to happen when they reopen their store. A compelling event could be anything at all that matters to that client at that time. So segment your entire database by compelling event, not by anything else. And the reason you segment them by compelling event is you then take that one event, and that is the basis of the hook in your script. Now, if you're struggling with understanding what the script should look like, and you're struggling with understanding what the hook is, and coming on and dealing with objections, and we'll come on to all that in a minute, start with the main part of what it is you're trying to get across, the main message. Don't necessarily feel you have to write the script in logical order, okay? If anyone's ever written a proposal document, you never write the executive summary first. It may be at the front of the document, but it's the last thing you write. So in the script, write the bits you're comfortable with. Write the bit about the message you want to get across. And why do we use a script? Well, we use a script as a point of reference. Please don't learn it parrot fashion, because if you do, you'll sound like one of those people trying to sell you PPI and claims or some insurance or something that you don't need anyway. But it's a point of reference. Get familiar with it, get confident with it, and use it as a guide. If the full detailed script doesn't work, write that first and then condense it down into bullet points or simple to remember phrases. But start with the script. Now, segment the people based on their compelling event. So let's take an example of a shop owner who's worried about the future, about opening and about his financial challenges. Now, maybe you're a financial consultant and you're going to go in there and tell him about things he can do to restructure his business, to restructure his finance. That's the meat in the sandwich, if you like, of the story you're trying to tell. The hook is the bit that matters to that person, to him or to her, when you get them on the phone. So then you can work that back. And the hook needs to be a question that elicits a response, but that elicits a response that will engage them in a positive conversation. So in that scenario, a hook wouldn't be, so just how bad is it going to be when you open your stores? That's probably not the right thing to say. You'd be surprised what people say. The other thing is, please do not, when somebody answers the phone, do not say, "Hi, how are you?" Okay? If people ring up and say, "Hi, how are you?" they get one of three reactions from me. I either ignore them, or I tell them just how dreadful my day has been in great detail. Or, I just say, "I can't believe you said that. Can you just say something sensible?" Please don't say, "Hi, how are you?" because you don't care, they don't care, let's be honest. But find something they do care about, okay? So if they are a retailer and they're about to open, find something that matters to them. Maybe something local, maybe something relevant to their industry, maybe something that you've read that they may be aware of. But find that hook. It is about having a conversation. And once you start that conversation, they're giving you the right to talk back to them about what it is you want to talk about. But the other thing is, remember, they're busy people. You're a busy person, they're busy people. So don't feel that you have to beat around the bush. Don't take your time. Get to the point. Not bluntly, but be absolutely clear where you want to get to. I won't say who, but I was on a webinar a little while ago, and there was a chap from IMN, and I asked him what he did. 3 minutes in, still didn't know what he did. So we're all bad at it on bad days, and we can all be very good at it on good days. But focus on the prize. What's the prize? Where do you want to get to? And make a beeline for that. Now, the other thing is, we all know the 80-20 rule. Mr. Pareto, his good old-fashioned 80-20 rule. You need to get them, if at all possible, to do 80% of the talking. Doesn't always happen, and sometimes you have to push it along. But if you can get them doing 80% of the talking, then you will learn a lot more about them. And, my name's John Fuggles, and I'm spending the next 45 minutes talking to you. People like the sound of their own voice. and they like to tell you about what they're doing. So encourage that. You'll learn from them, and listen to what they're saying, because there are clues there. Yeah, if we stick with our retailer and he's opening the shop, we're saying, yeah, I'm really worried because it's a very narrow shop entrance. And okay, there's a clue there. I don't know what the clue is, and I don't know what the answer is, but there is a clue there. That's something that's on that person's mind. So what could you do to help? Okay, so listen to the clues they're giving to you. So use your ears, twice as much as your mouth, if you like, and try and understand. But be clear, stick to the script. If they start wandering off, telling you about, the kids and how long it takes to park the car when they get to the shop, get them off that. That's not what you're there. Keep your eye on the prize. Now, you need to understand what is the objective of your cold call. Okay, we've talked about a script. We've talked about the main body of the script, which is something you should all know very, very well. It's what you do. And we've talked about a hook, which is to get them interested in what it is you're trying to sell to them. And then we work our way through the script. But be absolutely clear on what your objective is. Your objective may be to get them to sign a contract over the phone there and then. Your objective could be to get a meeting with them at their shop. It could be to get another call. It could be to get a reaction from them that you can follow up. It could be to get information. Cold calling, prospecting, the whole process is not a single entity. It's not a single item. It's not one phone call and you're done. Okay, sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4. I tend to advise people don't give up until after, depends on what industry you're in, between 7 and 9 points of contact. That's not 7 and 9 calls. It could be emails. It could be a text message. Don't be afraid to send someone a text message as well afterwards. So be clear what your script is. Be clear what your objective is. And if your objective is just to get a meeting with perhaps 2 or 3 people on the call so that you can have a more detailed discussion, focus on that and have your diary ready and get ready. Focus. Now, the biggest thing that stops people from doing this is fear. Okay. Now, and I'll explain that in a bit more detail. We have our script. We know what we're doing. We have our segmented list. So we know exactly these are the people I'm going after with this conversation. These are the people I'm going after with this conversation, and so on and so forth. So you will have different scripts, maybe for different industries or for different objectives. But the thing that stops it is everyone just stares at the phone. It says, oh, gosh, is that the time? I'll just go and get a cup of coffee. Or, well, it's only 9:05. Maybe they're still doing their emails. I'll come back in a bit. Or it's 5 to 5. Yeah, it's a bit late to call people now. They're near the end of the working day. I have heard so many excuses. I've seen so many excuses. I've seen people sitting around a desk, sharing a phone, taking it in turns, one after another. They spend more time looking at the phone than they do actually making the phone calls. It's crazy. And there is a reason for that, right? There are 3 parts to our brain, forgetting left and right brains, but 3 parts of our brain. The first part of our brain that was formed is what's called the lizard brain. And for those of you who read the chimp paradox, you know all about that. Now, the lizard brain is there for a reason, right? It's to make sure that we run away when something scares us. Your average caveman got up and he didn't wander out the cave in the morning thinking he'll see a unicorn. He wandered out the cave with a very big spear, hoping not to get killed. And that part of our brain is still the most powerful part of our brain. It's where all our emotions exist, and it's where the stuff that keeps us alive exists. So you have to overcome that. So I just want to ask a show of hands. If I was to get a coin right now and toss a coin, and if it came down, and it's a £10 bet, if it came down heads, you give me 10 quid. If it came down tails, I'll give you 10 quid. How many people would take that bet? 1 or 2. Okay. Same question. If it comes down heads, I'll give you the money. If it comes down tails, you give me the money. Now it's £10,000. Who wants that bet? No one. Richard. Excellent. I haven't got any coins, Richard. Sorry. Now let me tell you something else. Okay, I'm now going to toss a coin. If it comes down heads, I will give you £10,000. If it comes down tails, you give me nothing. Who would take that bet? Well, you should all take that bet, right? And that's the point with cold calling. The very worst that can happen is nothing. Someone will say, no, thank you, put the phone down. Someone will potentially be rude to you. Really? You'll get over it. It's not you, it's the message. It's not you, it's the business. It's not you, it's them. You'll get over it. It's not personal. Some people will say, no, not today. Some people will say, go away. Whatever happens, you've wasted 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But in those 2-3 minutes, however long it takes you, you've actually got better anyway. So even that is not wasted time. So the very worst thing that can happen is nothing. If you toss the coin and it comes down to your favour, you've just won a £10,000 contract. That could be the margin on a property deal. That could be an ongoing consultancy contract. That could be a new sponsor. It could be an order for something. So the odds are absolutely in your favour because you cannot lose. So when you're sitting there staring at the phone thinking, oh, I'll just have a cup of coffee before, really? It's costing you nothing. You're wasting your time. So don't waste your time, pick up the phone and waste their time, right? And if it's a waste of their time, move on and the next one and the next one and the next one. And you will get better at it. And it doesn't matter if on the first 5 calls nobody says yes, the first 10 calls nobody says yes, the first 20 nobody says yes. It's just time, it's just practice. So how do we do the prospecting and the cold calling, right? We've got through our head, hopefully, that it's not as scary as we might think. We've got the idea that we need a script. We've got the idea that we need a hook to get them interested. We understand that we want them to talk more than us, if we can, so we can extract information from them, and we are absolutely clear on what our objective is. What constitutes success? We've segmented our database. So we've done all of this, and we haven't even picked the phone up yet. So different industries and different people are working different ways. I personally, when I used to do this, and I advise certain clients to do this, is send an email before. It doesn't always work. You really need to think about the people you're targeting, whether that's applicable. So you may send them an email before, or even a Facebook message or a text or something, but a point of communication. And when you send them an email or a message before, if you send an email, make sure the title has what's called clickbait in it. And I'll come back to why in a minute. The email needs to be short, simple, succinct, to the point. And if you want them to look at something, send them the link. And tell them why you're connecting with them. I'm connecting with you because we're just creating a new property portfolio. We're looking to raise £30 million. We've currently got 10 million and we think you'll be a significant investor. Here's a link to some of the things we're working on. That's it, really simple. A lot of people will send an email and they'll hide away and they'll try and keep it a secret. Why? They'll try and dress it up as something else. If you do that, you're only going to disappoint the person when they really find out. It's better off them send an email back going, you know what, this is too rich for me, or no, I'm already involved in something else, or whatever. Find out then. But I like to send an email, or I used to when I was doing this, and I like to advise some of my clients that they send an email when they do it. And that frames the purpose of the call. And if you've got a link in there, they can then do their research. And I tend to say when I will call them, but not set a specific date or time. I may say Tuesday morning, or I may say early next week. If I say I'm going to call you at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, you can absolutely guarantee that at 9:57 on Tuesday, my internet will go down or something will happen. So be clear, I'll call you the first half of next week. I'll call you Tuesday morning. And the other thing is, put it in your diary. It has to be the second most important thing in your diary, or the third most important thing if you're married, of course. The most important thing in your diary is your holiday. And the reason that's the most important thing in your holiday is that's the one thing you never move. You never move your holiday. So make this the second or third most important thing. Put it in your diary. Tuesday morning, 2 hours cold calling. Thursday afternoon, 2 hours cold calling. Now, there's all sorts of theories about when is good and when is bad to cold call. I will advise you not first thing in the morning and then not on a Friday afternoon. If you're struggling to get through, do cold callings at lunchtime. Now, we live in a slightly different world where, switchboards are remote from bosses and managers. But if you're struggling to get through, calling someone at lunchtime, you've got a reasonable chance that the person that's blocking you won't be there. They'll be off getting a sandwich. So think about when you want to cold call them. If you're going to send an email, be clear, concise. And I said the title needs to have some form of clickbait. So if your email title says something like, I'm going to call you on Tuesday to discuss, it's in with all the other emails. But if your email title has something that makes them go, oh, interesting, they'll open it, they'll read it. So it needs to have a hook, but it needs to be relevant, right? It needs to be relevant to the story. So think about what it is that will make them open it. Think about something that relates to them, to their industry. If you want to send an email beforehand, please do. If you're not comfortable with that, that's fine. And different industries and different products, different people work in different ways. And then just get ready, get prepared, get a glass of water, get yourself ready. If you're not comfortable on the phone, do it standing up. All right, get some blue tack, pin it to the wall. Make sure it's not next to a window, because when next door neighbour's dog starts yapping and barking and chasing its tail, you'll be looking at that. But pin it to the wall and do it standing up. If you've got a set of headphones, these are great. Use them. Proper headphones to keep background noises out. And away you go. Have your script, have your objectives of what you want to achieve ready, and have that first customer and pick up the phone and go through it. And at the end of it, if they want an email, if they want more information, don't stop and do that. We had Danny Crates on last week. He doesn't stop halfway through a race and tie his shoelaces up. If his shoes come undone, he keeps running. It doesn't matter what happens. Just stick to what you're doing. Make the call. Make some notes in a notebook. Send email. If you've got a spreadsheet, on a piece of paper, you can just make some notes next to it, and then do the next call. Swig of water. Then do the next call. Swig of water, then do the next one. And just keep on and on and on. If you get a lot of kickbacks, no, go away, I'm not interested, whatever, that's fine. Go for a 1 minute break, but no more than 1 minute, 2 minutes. Don't go for a walk around the garden and smelling the roses. Just a 1 or 2 minute break. Walk away, come back. Big deep breath, go again. When you need to sit down and do your emails and things like that, you can do that in the evening or at the end of the day, but make sure you follow up. If you promise to send them something and you don't, you've just wasted more of their time and more of your time, and you've lost an opportunity. That coin that I just tossed, you might as well just thrown it in the bin. So make sure you do your follow-up. Now, be clear what your objective is. Your objective, as we said, is it could be another call. So get a call in the diary. And if they say no, then learn how to deal with what is an objection. And what is an objection, right? So there are more ways of saying no than there are yes. Okay. When someone says no, not right now, get rid of the word no. They're not saying no, not right now. They're saying not right now. So it's about timing. If they say I haven't got any money, it's about funding. I'm busy right now, but that's fine. I did say in my email I'd call you on Tuesday morning, so I'll call you again on Thursday afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Put the phone down. Don't let them say no. Put the phone down. Not my thing. That's the worst one. That is actually the most difficult one, because what is their thing? So you need to dig, you need to dive. I need to talk to my partner. Okay, well, could you get him or her on the phone? No, they're not here right now. No, that's fine. I'll tell you what, I'll call you Thursday afternoon. I'll drop you an email just to confirm that, and then we can all have a quick chat. I don't want to waste any more time, but thank you very much. Not something we're looking at right now. So when will you be looking at it? And what are you looking at right now that's more important than this? So whenever you get an objection, take the word no out of the equation and understand what they're saying. When someone says not right now, they're not saying no. They're saying yes, but timing is wrong. When someone says no money, they're saying yes, but the finances don't make sense to me. I need to understand more. Not my decision. They're saying, I'm not saying no, but there's someone else that needs to approve this. It's not something we're looking at right now. Oh, okay, well, you obviously have a capacity that you're limited to in terms of all the projects you're working on. Which one of those is finishing soon? When should we start having a proper conversation about this? So whenever you get objections, just take the word no out of it. And actually what it's doing is it's giving you a qualification for what the problem is for them to move forward. Now, the other kind of objections you'll get is you'll get a blocker. You'll get someone who's an assistant or a colleague, and they'll say, I'm sorry, I can't put you through. Well, they're doing their job. Don't take it personally, right? That's their job. And if it's difficult for you to get through to the decision maker, it's difficult for all your competitors to get through as well. So the harder it is for you to get through, the more important it is that you get through. Educate the person that's trying to block you. Make them understand why it matters that you should get through. Make them an advocate for your product or service. And then when they put you through after the third call, the fourth call, the fifth call, 3 emails later as well, they'll say, oh, you know, Mr. Smith, it's Julie here, and she'd just like to talk to you about this, that, and the other. We've spoken a couple of times, and I think this would be interesting for you to talk to. You've elevated that assistant in the boss's eyes as well. You've educated them. They understand more, and they understand why they should put you through. The other type of objection you'll get is people just ignoring you. They won't respond to texts, emails. They'll they won't answer your call. Persevere. Find a reason to go to them. I said give up after 9. If you get ghosted after 9, then that's really as good as it's going to get. But persevere, persevere, and persevere. But more than anything else, you can have fun with this, right? You can really enjoy this. I was a project I worked on a long time ago. There was a lot of people out on the streets, literally doing door knocking on businesses, cold calling, and they were getting knocked back again and again and again. So they started a WhatsApp chat group trying to encourage each other. And then one guy started posting up about how many no's he got. And actually the competition became not how many yeses you got, but how many no's you got. Gallows humor, if you like. So have fun with it. If you keep getting lots of no's, it's cool. It's cool. They're obviously not the right people, but you've learned something and you've just tossed a coin and cost you nothing. So have fun with it. Change the script around. When I say have fun, I mean don't tell jokes because they just don't work. But have fun with it, enjoy it, embrace it for what it is. Right? It's an opportunity to not be on a Zoom call, if nothing else. Okay. Look, I apologize. That is 90 miles an hour of how to go from stop communicating to start connecting, and how to deal with objections and how to organize your day. But there is a lot in there. I know companies that run a whole day training course on just the call bit alone. So there's a lot there. So that's been 90 miles an hour, but I hope it's useful. I know, Richard, you said people were happy to ask questions afterwards. So I'm more than happy to throw that open. Thank you.
Fantastic. John, thank you. I could talk with you about this for days as well. It's such an important subject matter and an interesting one. And one of our previous speakers at IMN, Daniel Priestley, in one of his books, he talks about leaning into things, particularly things that you don't necessarily like doing or want to do. But his whole point is when you lean into something, it gives you confidence in it. And cold calling is one of those things. And I know Nina's just about to mute me because she's told me that she's commencing the questions as she has some herself. But I just wanted to mention that. But it is so vital to any business, whatever your role in that business. Another one of our previous speakers, Kevin France, who I know you know, he runs a business consulting business in the US for the benefit of the other people on this call. His business has actually generated $7 billion worth of sales for their clients. And even he, the owner of that business, calls 5 brand new CEOs every day, 5 cold calls every day. Now that's how important he sees this as part of his business. But I'm going to continue this a bit. I've got a couple of things that I do want to chat with you about for the benefit of everyone else on the call, but I can see Nina shaking her head. So I'm going to mute myself now and hand back over to Nina.
Thank you. Fabulous. Thank you, John. I coming from a sales background myself, I'm with you on so many of these points, and I've got a ton of questions. So yeah, people will send over their questions to Richard or I so that we can get you up, because Richard and I will be up here all night otherwise. Do you set aside time, John, to research people before you call them? Because I find it's really important to be able to have that conversation with them, to know more about them. Obviously, you don't want to be too familiar with them, but I believe that the only thing you can guarantee is how prepared you are for each situation or each call. So what kind of ratio of time do you set up for researching the person and then calling them?
It really depends on how many calls you're making or who you're targeting. So if I was to go back to those people I mentioned earlier who are not door knocking, there's about 100 shops in my local high street. I'm not going to research every shop and every shop owner. But what I will do is research what is happening for retail in the area, what is happening with traffic plans, what is happening with the council, whether there's a retail community group. So for those kind of people, I will do that. If instead of that, I was targeting someone who owns 5, 6, 7 hotels, who yes, absolutely, I'd want to understand his business and him. So what's his drive? What's his motivation? What's happened with the business? So a bit of timeline. The other interesting thing is, if I'm connected with them on LinkedIn, the day before, I will look at their profile on LinkedIn. I'm not interested in their profile. I'll look at that when I'm on the call. So when I'm on the call, I'll have their profile in front of me. But the reason I look at it the day before is because if they look on LinkedIn, they go, oh, John Fowler's just looked at my profile on LinkedIn. Wonder what that's about. And then when I ring them tomorrow, they'll know I was researching them. So they'll know I'm coming to the call with some knowledge. It's important that they know you're coming to the call with knowledge. You're not literally picking up in the good old days the yellow pages and starting at A. So yes, the amount of research is kind of directly proportional or not to the number of calls you're going to make and the sector they're in. If I'm going to call the chief exec of British Petroleum, I'll probably spend 2 days, researching him and know everything about not just him, but his executives, his business, his strategy, and his personal history. How long's he been at BP and so on and so forth. But by comparison, the high street, 100 shops, no. I just want to know what's happening in the local community and that industry.
Because I think you can spend too much time doing the research.